When we look at the Vatican, we always see the same scene: halls covered in gold, giant basilicas, and collections made up of the world's most valuable paintings. Treasures so vast they could fill not the museum of a country, but almost that of an entire continent. But if you ask me, the real interesting part isn't their shine, it's how this wealth came to exist. Because this fortune didn't suddenly fall from the sky. No empire has ever been built that way. It was built, truly engineered, step by step, deal by deal, with power balances carefully established along the way. And this empire begins not with a divine miracle, as many imagine, but with money, politics, and the understanding of the rules of power. The story takes us to the year 313 AD, when Roman Emperor Constantine the Great officially set Christianity free. Overnight, a belief that had lived under pressure for centuries gained the assurance and protection of the state. Aristocrats donated land, emperors gifted priceless treasures, and even the first construction of St. Peter's Basilica was personally financed by Constantine. That was the day the Church realized: to earn respect, you need power, and to hold power, you need money. By the Middle Ages, everything had turned into an organized system. The Church introduced a model known as the tithe, much like what we think of as tax today, but with one big difference. It was sold to people with the message that if you failed to give 10% of your income, you wouldn't only lose in this world, but in the next one too. When you think about it, it really was a genius model. It touched people's conscience and their fears at the same time. And this system grew so powerful that by 1000 AD, it is widely believed that the Catholic Church owned nearly 1/3 of all land in Western Europe. Vineyards, mills, forests, farmlands. Not priceless museum paintings, perhaps, but real assets generating real income and long-term wealth. So here, let's ask the question everyone avoided. Who was filling the coffers, while the public was being told to embrace poverty? During the Renaissance, it wasn't the Church's language that changed. It was their lifestyle. Indulgences entered the stage. It was marketed softly, smoothly, brilliantly. Every donation you make to the Church will shorten your loved one's time in purgatory. It was one of the most successful campaigns of its era. The face of this operation was the Dominican friar Johann Tetzel. His famous line is still talked about today: "The moment a coin in the chest rings, the soul leaps out of purgatory." Honestly, even now when I hear that line, it gives me chills, because imagine it. The days when people gave their last coins, terrified for the souls of their loved ones. And that very money funded the artists who decorated the Sistine Chapel, the most iconic masterpiece project of the era. The agony and the ecstasy dramatizes that period incredibly well. But the pattern was always the same: virtue on the stage, profit behind the curtain. In 1870, when the Papal States were seized by Italy, the Vatican suffered a serious loss of income and power. Many thought, this really might be the end. But in 1929, history flipped completely with the signing of the Lateran Treaty between the Vatican and Italy's Prime Minister Benito Mussolini, a dictator who needed the papal seal of legitimacy. This deal strengthened the Vatican's modern financial structure. Its most controversial legacy was the Institute for the Works of Religion, commonly known today as the Vatican Bank. Then came the 1980s, when the Banco Ambrosiano scandal exploded. The man at the center of it, the so-called God's banker, Roberto Calvi, was found dead under Blackfriars Bridge in London. It wasn't just a financial scandal. It was an earthquake of trust. because people finally started asking questions they had never asked before, no matter how sacred the institution appeared to be. The lesson we pull from here is the clearest summary of financial history. Wealth doesn't happen overnight. It is built, shielded by power, expanded through deals. And while listening to this, here is the real question we should always ask ourselves. While I trust the system, who does the system actually profit? Because that isn't just a question for the past. It is a question for today, too. If a country tells you our currency is strong while inflation spirals out of control, if a bank promises your money is safe while risky bets are being quietly made behind your back, if an institution chants virtue while hiding wealth like a state secret, then you're watching the same empire playbook in a new era. That's why history is fascinating. It doesn't only show us what happened, but the machinery behind it too. And we all need to believe this. As long as the mechanics don't change, history is nothing but repetition. The answers were already hidden in history. I'm just here to remind you where to look.